All right, everybody. It is build number 17, and today we are building rotation. So trunk rotation, really core focus, but getting the core moving through a healthy range of motion, understanding how to properly twist side to side. So with that, let's go ahead and take a wide base of support, not super wide, but about hip width, with your toes straight ahead. Oh, you'll need one super heavy dumbbell or kettlebell. I'm going to use a 40 pound. And then a lighter single dumbbell. I'm going to use 15, a 15. All right, so bring your arms all the way up overhead. Nice big inhale. And then from here, I want you to try to keep your hips straight ahead and just twist from your mid back over to the left, and then back to center, and then over to the right. So I've talked about it before, but we'll just take a quick refresher. We're going to focus on, or you have different places of mobility and stability through your kinetic chain, right? So your neck is mobile, and then your upper back of your shoulders are actually stable. So they should move together. Even though we have a lot of mobility and rotation and movement in the shoulder joint itself, as far as the back goes, that upper back should move as one stable piece. The rotation and mobility actually comes through the mid back, so the thoracic region of the spine. Your low back is stable, and that's huge for keeping your low back happy and the stability of that low back. So you always want to use the core in keeping the low back stable. So today, as we do our trunk rotations, we want to watch and make sure that our mobility and movement is coming through that mid back, holding the low back stable. Otherwise, then you have super mobile hips. Okay, so your hips are mobile points and your knees are actually stable points, right? So your knees are stabilizing in and out, and then your ankles are back to mobile. So you kind of go mobile, stable, mobile, stable, mobile, stable, all right? So with that in mind, let's go ahead and work through some of the rotations. Keep those hips steady and still, and then just rotate your upper body back and forth. So keep your head facing straight ahead. Try to keep your hips level and stable, and then just rotate from that mid back. We'll go 3, 2, and 1. Okay, and then hinge over the legs. Try to keep the low back level and stable so those hips are leveled off. Bend your knees just a little bit so you have your knees bent toward the toes, and we're going to rotate again through that mid back. Bring one arm up, plant it, and then twist to the other side. Twist to the left, twist to the right. Grab in through the core, always using the core to find stability in that low back. Okay, last time on your right, and then we're going to go ahead and take a hands and knees position. All right, we're going to go through some spine mobility forward and backward. So inhale, push your chest forward, and then exhale, round. So getting some space in through the spine, lubing it up a little. Slide those shoulder blades down. When you exhale and round, really contract through that core, deep into the abdomen. One more. And then exhale. And then you're going to level off the hips. So shoulders right over your wrists, knees right over your hips. And I want you to pull your right shoulder to right hip. Come back to neutral. Pull left shoulder, left hip. Back to neutral. I'll go this way too so you can kind of see what it looks like from the front position. Pull to the side and back, side and back. So you should find some flexion and heat through your lat. So on your back, on the side of the body, through your oblique as you pull shoulder to hip. And then always, always still the front of the abdomen, those transverse muscles, and even the pelvic floor. Okay, now we're going to go a bigger swing. So you're going to let your hips swing out to the left and then swing out to the right. So still we want to try to get that mobility through the mid back. So my hips are moving with my low back. Still keep the belly strong. Looking good. One more. All right, sit back on your heels. So tuck your toes under, sit on those heels, and we're going to rotate side to side this way. So lifting up out of the body Find a little bit of a hinge, somewhat like we just did from the ground, but now we have a seated position instead of on those hands and knees. All right, so we're going to start off with a little core set that puts us through that twisted, that trunk rotation range of motion. We're going to hit up a Ticktock plank, a figure 4 crunch, a twisted plank, and then a star crunch. So I'm going to run us through what those look like, and then we can hit them all together. So if you'd like to keep kind of twisting through, getting some rotations and warm up, you can hit a downward facing dog. That always feels good. Or you can go through what I'm doing just on the example level. All right, so plant onto your elbows, tuck your tailbones. You want your solid plank. And then we're going to keep that upper back through the shoulders stable as we rotate through the mid back, moving the low back with the legs. So we're going to go 10 each side here with your Ticktock plank. And then we're going to flip all the way over onto our back. And we're going to hit up a figure 4 crunch. So basically you're going to start with that figure 4 stretch, crossing your ankle over your opposite knee. And then you're going to take the opposite elbow behind the head and twist up and over toward that knee. So you should feel the side that you're crunching into, build the heat. And then again, you're just getting that rotation, working into that trunk rotation for today. So we'll do 10 each side. We're going to flip back over onto our forearms, and then we're going to take a twisted plank here. So what's going to happen from your forearm plank, you're going to walk both feet to the right, and then you're going to rotate onto the outer edge of your left foot. So your hips are twisted up, but your shoulders are planted into the ground. So we'll hold 30 seconds on one side, 30 seconds on the other. Then we're going to flip back around. This is our star crunch. Plant your left hand on the ground and your right foot on the ground. So the knee's going to be bent. You're going to plant that right foot. Then if you want, you can lift your hips up off the ground. You can also keep your hips there. So if your hips are on the ground, looks like this. It's still great. You're getting a little bit of a rotation from that shoulder over to the opposite foot. Otherwise, lift your hips up and you're going to crunch opposite hand toward the toe. All right, so that's going to be our set. 10 of each plus the 30 seconds of the twisted plank, 2 rounds through. So we're going to start with our TikToks. Here we go. Grab deep into that belly and then rotate side to side. So we're going to take our time. Here's 2. Think about that rotation. Trunk rotation, floor. Stable through that upper back. 7, 9. Keep your hips in line with shoulders as you rotate side to side. All right, I'm going to start with my right ankle on top of the left knee, and then you're going to crunch the left elbow across to the right knee. 2, 3. Just like we do with our concentrated crunches, you want to keep your flexion all the way up and all the way down. So you're flexing through the abdomen the whole time, not just on your crunch up. 8. Exhale with your lift, inhale with the lower. 10. Other side. Your hand is there to rest the head into. 4. Check in with that big crunch. 5. 6. 7. 8. Dig in deep. Find the flexion where you want it. And 10. All right, flipping back over. We have our twisted plank. All right, set up those elbows. Walk both feet to the right and then rotate onto the outer edge of that left foot. So find that twist. Push evenly into both elbows. Tighten through the front of the belly. Get your rotation. And then you should feel your oblique that's facing the ground as well. Mine's definitely heating up, clenching, tightening. Front of the belly holds support. 3, 2, and 1. Find your middle, and then walk over to the left. Rotate onto the outer edge of the right foot. Keep those hips up nice and high. Level off in the elbows. Keep those contractions. Find those flexions where you want it. You build your heat. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, flipping back over, we have that star crunch. All right, each foot, each arm, and then our head. We are 5-point star. So here we go. We're going to explode. If you get your hips down toward the ground and then also up, then you're getting that much more. You can also just hold stable. 5, 6. Your hips can stay on the ground also, but use that core. 8, 9, 10. All right, other side. Control and flex. Here we go. 1. Feel the core contract to pull that leg. 3, 4. Get into that core. 9, find that little twist. 10. All right, back into our Ticktock Planks. We only have one more set of our focused core, and then we're going to move into other weighted trunk rotations. Here we go. To the right and the left. 3, 7, tuck in through that tailbone as you rotate through the center, and 10. All right, we're going to hit up that cross crunch. Pull that elbow up. 2, 3. Keep that core contracted. 4. Work with your breath. Push your knee away from the body. And 10. Other side. Open that knee wide. Take your time. Get as much range as you can. Hold just a split second at the top. We're not here just to get through the moves. We're here to get benefit from them. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And remember, we're here to build the flexion of the core through rotations. So if your low back feels funky or starts to get tired or sore, back off of the range and focus on core flexion. Walk your toes to the left, then rotate onto the outer edge of your right foot and hold up that twisted plank. Drive up through that hip, still feeling that tailbone kind of tuck in. Get your pelvis in place. Feel like that left hip is pulling up toward the ceiling. 10 seconds to go. 3, 2, and 1. Walk your toes to the right. Rotate onto the outer edge of that left foot. You've got it. You've got it. Flex in. Double check that you're pushing evenly into both elbows. Drive up through those hips. 5 seconds. 3, 2, and 1. All right, we have our star crunch. Here we go. Sink and tuck. 3, 4, 6, little rotation, 8, through that upper back, 10, find your other side, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. All right, our first segment is done. Let's hinge over those legs. Give yourself a little forward fold, twist side to side. Well done. Okay, moving on, we're gonna do a wood chop. So you grab your lighter dumbbell. You want momentum to come into play here. We're gonna hit up 10 each side. So you're gonna twist down, letting the weight kind of pull behind you. Counter twist your hips to set that low back and hips stable. Remember, our rotation comes through the mid back, and then you're gonna swing up behind. All right, so we'll hit 10 each side. From there, you're gonna grab your heavier weight, and we're gonna hit a dead shift. So this is a super slight twist. So if your weight is on the left side, toward your left foot, grab it with your right hand. Your other hand hangs out up in the air. Okay, so this is your rotation, this slight rotation. You want your hips level, that low back stable. In fact, you could take your other hand and put it on your low back to make sure it's staying stable. Then, using your back, you shift the weight over and then switch to the other side. So here's that little twist and then shift. It's slight, but it's super important, setting in those lats and grabbing through the core to get that twist and shift side to side. Okay, then we're gonna do a pivot and lift. Okay, so you're just gonna pivot your weight to the side and then lift up. So this one is kind of a full body rotation. You're moving your hips and shoulders together, unlike your wood chop. Still functioning through the core, using the core and back to support the pivot, the twist, and the lift. So everything moves together on that one. And then we're gonna hit up touchdowns. Nice little twist here, hop, side to side. Just get a little bit of time off the weights and a little bit more into the cardio. Okay, so starting with your lighter weight, set your feet straight ahead, twist, and then lift. Here we go. 1, 2. Think about where you're twisting. Tighten the core as much as you did on those planks that we just did. 9, 10. You're using the core to stop the swing. 5. Contract through the upper back, the core. 8, 9, 10. All right, moving into our shifts. Even if you don't have access to super heavy weight, practice flexing into the same muscle groups. So those isometric flexions, envisioning and visualizing that you have to pick up super heavy weight. Just shift your hips straight across. 4, knees line with toes, big core activation. Long back, stick those hips back. Focus on that back contraction and core contraction. Little twist, and then that shift. 8. Can you wrap around that rib cage anymore? And 10. All right. Now we're going to get that pivot and lift. So from your toes, you're going to pivot, hips, upper back, shoulders. 2. Remember, this is a core move, so flex deep into the belly. How high can you lift that chest up off the shoulder blades? 8, 9, 10. Other side. So when you get that chest up, the shoulder blades pull together and you have a taller, longer back. Then you're not going to put pressure in that low back as much. 7. Wrap around that rib cage. 10. Perfect. All right, touchdowns. Square off those hips. Take one leg behind. Make sure the hips are dropping as you hop that back leg back. Line your front knee and toe. Remember, we're here for that twist. Keep in mind our goal and our focus. 10. All right. Let's take a second and check in. Arms come straight up. I'm feeling that mid back and core. Twist side to side. Okay, back to our Woodchops. Remember, set into that core to hold the hips stable. Straight ahead. 4. Use momentum. And then the core stops the swing. 8. Perfect. Other side. Wrap into that core. 9, 10. Super flat back. Strong back. Use those muscles in the upper back that we worked to build through our last series. All those back days coming in handy. All right. Shift over. Make sure your low back is flat, stable, squared. Lots of core. Flex into the back muscles. Little rotation. Mid back. Thoracic spine. Low back stays stable. Can you sink that belly button up towards your low back anymore? And then tighten through the sides. 7. Make sure you're grabbing with the opposite arm. Stick your hips way far back. And 10. Okay. Pivot and lift. So rotate everything together. Shoulders and hips move together. Focus on the core being the central part of the move. You'll feel your back and your legs as well. But dig into the core first. There's 10. Whew. Pivot and lift. 2. Keep flexion through the core. Lift the chest off the ribs. 8. 10. Alrighty. Touchdowns. Be methodical about these. Take little scans of the body. What are we here for? You got it. 9 and 10. Perfect. Set your elbows on your knees. Chest is forward. And then round. Push forward. And then round. Straighten through those legs. Plant your hands. Good work, everybody. We're going to take the rest of our little time to stretch. Twist both hands to the right side of your legs. So see if you can keep your hips level. If you need to bring the floor up to you, grab something, a pillow, a block, a weight. So after you hinge forward, try to keep those hips level and get that pull through that mid back on the side. Perfect. All right, bring everything up. And we're going to hit up the other side. Hinge forward. Keep the hips level. And then rotate. Swing those hips back the opposite way of the way they're wanting to go. So they're wanting to shift. Want to pull that left hip forward. If you're twisting to the left, pull the left hip forward, right hip back. Slide those shoulder blades down. Perfect. All right, come on up. We're going to hit a pyramid stretch, and then we'll go into our pigeon. So put your left leg forward. If you're mirroring me, left leg is forward, and then your right leg is going to be straight back behind, heel to heel alignment with the toe off at an angle, square off the hips. So this is the first piece, super important. So right here, you should already feel a little pull through the back hip flexor. Lift up that chest, grab into that core from your hip creases. So just like when we do a forward fold with both legs, hinge forward. So your hips are pushing back. If the left hip is forward, if the left leg is forward, pull the left hip back. So you're scissoring your hips. So I want you, usually the hips are going to want to pull around to the side of the front leg. So you want to counter that. Pull those hips to the right. So the right hip pulls forward, left hip pulls back, and then you let your upper body drape over the leg. So you should feel that stretch all the way through the calf, back of the knee, and then into the hamstring and the glute. Grab through the core, come all the way up, switch to the other side. Right leg forward, left leg behind at an angle, heels line up, square those hips off, lift the chest, hinge over the legs from those hip creases. Right hip pulls back, left hip pulls forward, and then let the body drop. So the weight of that upper body is pulling you forward. Use something if you need it to bring the floor up to you so that you can stabilize. Or if you have the stability and it's not too much on the knee joint, just let the body hang over that leg. So those hips should be level. That's why we do that little scissor. All right. Come on up again. And then we're going to face front of the mat. Head up into your downward facing dog. Drive the chest back toward those toes. Let both feet slide to the right so that you get a little hinge in those hips, twisting again. And then bring them back, slide to the left. Feel that stretch to the right side. And then let's bring that left leg forward. So your left knee is going to come up toward your left wrist. And you're going to bring the foot up toward the right wrist. So the further back that your foot is toward the hip, the less intense the stretch. So depending on where you're at in this stretch, you can keep your foot a little bit further back toward the hip. You don't have to go onto your elbows, but again, focus on that pelvic facing the pelvis, facing the ground, that squared off position. Push into the elbows or the hands and pull back. You'll feel a lift out of the back. I think I'm going to be feeling those lats and the core tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. All right, one more deep inhale and exhale, and then push into the hands. Go back into your downward facing dog. And then bring your right knee to the right wrist, right foot toward the left wrist. You don't have to get that leg very far away from the body, but flex the toe back toward the knee. Again, plant into your elbows or your hands, open up through that chest. So try your best throughout the rest of your day, throughout your normal life, to think about how we utilized healthy rotations, trunk rotations. So we do use our trunk and core in twists and movements through the hips, the back, the upper back in our everyday life, and many, many things that we do. Picking things up, moving them around, grabbing something from the back seat of the car, shifting the laundry, digging into the back of the dishwasher, whatever it is, those twists and rotations happen a lot in our everyday life, even from an office chair, twisting around to grab the paper from the printer, whatever. So think about those stability and mobility points. Okay, push yourself up, and we're going to push back into our low squat. So the more that you can become what's the word I'm looking for? Familiar. The more that you can become familiar with those rotations in a healthy manner, then I think the happier that our neck, our shoulders, and for sure our low back is going to be. So keep all that in mind. And in the meantime, we'll keep building our rotations and our core strength and be feeling good. Have a great day.